Today's guest started professionally developing software at age 16, building vascular diagnostic software for portable medical software. He is the co-founder and chief technical officer at WorkHere, where he is responsible for the design and development of WorkHere's conversational marketing software and services. WorkHere reduces time to hire from weeks to days. They screen unqualified and unengaged candidates with chat and SMS. Welcome to the show, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing great today. It's good to be here, Toby. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Mirror Talk. I would love to learn more about you. I would love to learn more about how you started to professionally develop software at the age of 16 and how your career and life journey has been so far, leading you to becoming the co-founder of WorkHere.
Okay, well, I'll start with how I ended up developing medical software at age 16. So here's how it happened. Back in the 80s, there weren't a whole lot of people that could actually program microcomputers. So the whole PC thing was brand new. And I had learned how to program, and I had an opportunity to go to work for a friend of my dad's who owned this company called Portable Medical Software and heard that I knew how to program. And so at age 16, I got a job writing software that did vascular ultrasound imaging and vascular ultrasound diagnosis work. And so here's a really scary thought. There was probably thousands of people out there that the software I wrote back in the 80s at age 16 was used to diagnose things like arterial sclerosis and really serious medical conditions. And for somebody to do what I did in the 80s now would be almost impossible because of the amount of regulation and the amount of rules that have accumulated. Back then, this whole computer thing was the Wild West, and it was okay for a 16-year-old to be working on software that could be life or death. I didn't even really think much about that until I got older. That it was kind of like, wow, I did that.
Oh, that's awesome. And how did you continue with your career journey from that age or that phase of developing the software for the medical software company?
Yeah, so I started another company after I left that was helping put computer networks into offices, and they would ask from time to time, could you write a program that would do something or the other that might be simple as making bills print out of their printers, or could be as complex as how do we match up our buyers with real estate that they could buy in the local market and that kind of thing. So I started doing some custom software work, and I did that for a while. Then I served in the U.S. Navy for a little bit. When I came out, I went to work for a big corporation, and I loved it so much that I ended up starting my own company a few years later. And so after about 4 of these, I don't know, about 8 years ago, I found myself working for a company called Direct Employers after I had sold an advertising agency. And I worked over at Direct Employers for, I think, 3 years. And when I left with the CTO from Direct Employers, and we started what became WorkHere. Very different company then than it is now. But back then we were trying to be kind of like a Yelp for jobs. And anyhow, it was a total and abysmal failure, and we ended up having to pivot to doing something completely different when COVID hit. And in fact, we lost 85% of our business when COVID hit, and had to retool our whole business around, kind of looked at everything and looked at the customers that stayed with us through COVID and went, what are we doing for them? And it was chat. And so we looked at that and talked to all of our customers, and they told us, hey, if you guys could do this a little better and maybe do a few things this way or that way, we would buy more of it from you. And so we took last year and wrote a whole new software system. And in January, we launched it. And in January, I had all of $5,000 in revenue. And by August, we were all the way up to $83,000 a month in revenue. And it looks like we're going to clear 100,000 in revenue for October. So we're moving pretty quick, growing pretty fast, and really excited about everything. But we did get an abject lesson in business reality when COVID hit.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy for the progress you're making so far from January already. But I would love to learn more about, the lessons that you learned from, the COVID and, from everything that happened in the past. Can you share some of these lessons and maybe some of the things that you could have avoided also with me?
Yeah. So, well, the one challenge when you start a company is you go in there and Toby, you always have a great idea about what you're going to do, right?
Mhm.
So, you get this big idea and you're really, really excited about how awesome this idea is. And you go raise some money and get it started. And the first test that you hit is, will people actually buy this? And, maybe they do, and great. And if they buy it, the question is, can you do this in a way that lots of people will buy it and buy it at a price that's high enough that it's profitable and you can grow? And in the case of WorkHere, when we originally started, the product that we had was one of these products that it was good enough that people would buy it, but it wasn't good enough that they loved it and would keep it, given a little bit of a challenge like COVID. So what happened was we were unnecessary when COVID hit, and we just kept getting cancel call after cancel call. I mean, I remember sitting in my office in March of last year, and it was like this, like 2 days of hell where every other phone call was a customer calling and giving me the, well, Mike, we really like what you're doing and all that, but we're going to have to kind of cancel or suspend it. And it was like one of those moments where it was just like taking a punch in the gut, every 30 minutes all day. And then when it was done, looked at what was left, and there were 4 customers that we had that were left, and every one of them was using this chat thing that we were doing, largely because our old product wasn't very good. And we had to hire chat agents to operate the software for our customers. So it was kind of one of these things where we were doing the right thing for all the wrong reasons. And COVID became kind of this big stimulus to go, hey, look at what you're doing again, and go ahead and kill off the part of your business that isn't performing and focus on the stuff that is. And so that's exactly what we did. And I think we got the right thing to market. We're getting customers fast enough that I can't even really keep up. I don't even have enough salespeople right now to keep up with the demand, which is a good problem,
Yes.
but it's also a scary problem.
But that's so awesome right now. Like, seems like it getting back into, on the run, people, and people are going back to work, and the economy is bouncing back. Then that means like it's going to be a very huge problem for you, or a good problem for you to to keep up with the work also. That's awesome. But can you tell me what's motivated you to to still stick on to this goal or to this work here passion that you had? Like, sometimes when it's going downhill, one loses the motivation or the inspiration to continue, like the company, for example. What kept you going to say, yes, we're going to persevere, we're going to pull through, and hopefully there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, 2 things came up that really helped us stay in the game. I think a lot of business people would have looked at the situation last March and looked at it and analyzed it and went, you know what, this isn't working. This thing is dead. Just go ahead and go do something else. And we decided not to do that for 2 reasons. One is our customers were really, really adamant about, we really like what you're doing with this chat, and we would buy more of it if you guys really worked on building that part of your business. So, okay, that's good. And then we knew that no matter what, COVID aside, that the job market was really changing rapidly, and it was going from one where most companies were easily able to find more than enough people to fill their open jobs to an economy where most companies were going to struggle to find talent. For a lot of different reasons, but mainly demographics, where part of the workforce was aging out, and the colleges and universities and education system hadn't produced enough of the right kind of people for the jobs that were going to be available, this year, next year, the year after that.
Yeah.
And so we knew that for a lot of companies that finding talent was going to be almost an existential question for these businesses. And so we knew that this chat thing we were doing was helping our customers get an incredible competitive advantage over their competition. So here's what that advantage looks like. So most of the time when you apply for a job, how long does it take between when you apply and when you hear from the employer?
Oh, it could take months sometimes 3 months, sometimes, 6 months.
Yeah, the average is about 21 days.
Mm.
So you apply for a job, you hear nothing for 21 days. Right now, the chances, if you're a good candidate, of you being available 21 days from now are pretty close to zero.
Mm.
And what's going on is that employers that are successfully finding talent right now are the ones that go really fast. So what we have is our software allows our customers to hook up to Indeed and hook up to LinkedIn and hooked up to job boards. And when you apply for a job, we can start a conversation with you right away. So you applied for the job, within seconds, you get a message. Hi, you applied for Java software developer position as an example. I'm Alex, I'm a recruiter. Do you have time to talk now? And if you say yes, we'll talk with you right now. And so what we're doing is we're helping companies go from apply to wait 21 days to apply to instantly say hi, and then engage with a live human to human, not a chat bot, but a human to human conversation almost right away. And what we're enabling our customers to do is hire people before their competitors even start calling their stack of candidates. So they're for a lot of our customers, they're filling positions like truck drivers, nurse, medical aides, these positions that are incredibly hard to fill. They're finding that they can fill those jobs because there are enough people out there looking to change jobs. They just have to go really, really fast to actually get a shot at hiring them. And our software lets them go fast. So that's, for us, we're really excited about the next few years because we think that it's going to be a big opportunity to grow. And even more importantly, we think a lot of the employers out there that are used to giving candidates the experience of you applied for a job and you hear nothing for months and months. We think a lot of those employers are going to really struggle to compete in the marketplace. And we think a lot of the customers that want to go fast, a lot of the companies that want to go fast and recruit, have a good candidate experience. We think a lot of those people are going to, a lot of those companies are going to be really, really successful. And we're already seeing it. We've got customers that are in highly competitive categories, and we're taking them from, down a shift because they don't have enough people to man the production line fully staffed. And it's taking, 30, 60, 90 days to get that done. So we're really, really excited about this because the problem we're working on is a really big one. The other thing is for people that are out there looking for a job. I mean, what does it say to you when an employer takes 3 weeks between when you apply for a job and when they get back to you? What's that mean to you as a candidate?
It means that you are qualified for the job, and it means that they want you also. Like if they reply to you as soon as possible, as quick as possible.
But if they go slow, it tells you a totally different story, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly. You could just take off your mind off the job opening and just look for something else for yourself. Then yes,
that's really accurate. So we're really helping our customers two ways. One is to give a better experience to everybody who applies to a job, and then the other part is to help them capture the best workers they can by being able to actually get them into the interview process before they take a job somewhere else. So it's exciting and fun and everything, but I'll tell you what, the journey to get to this point was really hard. We've been doing this. This company's been around for 5 years, and we kind of fell in that category before COVID, where we were a zombie, where we had an idea that was good enough to survive, but not good enough to prosper.
Well, hopefully it's going to prosper in the future, from right now to the future, and it's going to become bigger and a very essential service that we all need, actually.
Thank you. I hope it stays that way.
But your company screens unqualified and unengaged candidates with SMS and with chat. So can you explain how this screening process works? How does it work? How do you filter out unqualified candidates? How do you make people qualified?
Okay.
How does it work?
So we'll start with somebody applies for a job on Indeed. So you just applied, and let's say we applied for a truck driver job, which means you have to have a certain kind of driver's license. And if you don't have that, you can't be hired. The problem is a lot of people will not tell the truth about whether they have the license or not on their application.
Sure.
And so what happens is they apply, and then they have a conversation with a recruiter via chat, and the recruiter's able to go, I need to get a copy of your license. And if you have to have an endorsement for handling hazardous material or something like that, they'll ask for that. And then a lot of times the drivers will take a picture with their phone and send that in. And that lets us verify that they actually are qualified for the job. The engagement side of that, believe it or not, about 30% of all job applicants do not respond to the recruiter when they actually try to get a hold of the candidate. So there's about 1/3 of all job applies out there that the candidates aren't available to talk to. So they apply for a job, not sure why they do this. They're just not available to actually have a conversation or an interview with. So by screening the 30% or so of the people that will never respond out of the process and making sure everybody's qualified, we can help keep the recruiters focused on people that are actually qualified, have all the credentials they're supposed to have, and more importantly, you can actually talk to them.
Yeah. Wow. This shows the essence of your company. Like, it helps to, solve some of the biggest problems that employers could have in the hiring process for their companies. I did like some other, big hurdles out there that the employers are experiencing, or that most employers are experiencing during hiring candidates or job seekers.
So the biggest problems that the employers have?
Yes.
So that is really, there's three pieces to it. One is there's an awful lot of candidates that don't have the qualifications that are required for the job. And I think that's really always going to be the case, because everybody wants a better job. Everybody wants to make more money, but everybody doesn't have, let's say it's a software developer, doesn't have the 3 or 4 years of experience with a very specific software framework that the employer needs you to have experience with.
Yeah.
And a lot of people apply for the job even though they don't have the required experience or the required education. We see that in almost every market. So that's one big problem. The second really big problem that a lot of employers have with hiring is that they're slow. A lot of times the recruiting process, which was, by the way, born the last 30 years, the economy has kind of been in at least hiring wise, we've had stagnant wages for a very long time. It hasn't been really competitive. There's always been more candidates than there are available jobs by a factor of 3 or 4. And now we flipped the script where there's 3 or 4 times more jobs open than there are candidates available to hire. So a lot of the processes that are in place at a lot of companies really are slow, and they're biased towards screening people out and not making a hire. So if you're downsizing your company, why the heck would you want to be hiring people, right? So a lot of the attitudes that are out there from the last few decades of downsizing are kind of obsolete, but they're still very much ingrained in a lot of talent acquisition organizations. So a lot of companies, they're just slow by design, and necessity is starting to change that.
Wow, that's awesome.
So
that's awesome. I mean, that means with your company's help, you're able to solve a lot of these problems for them already. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to reflect on right now. Yeah.
Toby, another thing that's really exciting, for me personally, is I'm loving seeing 2 things happen. One is I'm loving seeing the low end of the job market. Think the service workers, the restaurant workers, and the entry level factory and logistics people. I love seeing them get paid more. And we've been seeing wages go up at a rate we've just never seen, at least in my lifetime, never seen that. People that we were recruiting for jobs that were paying $10, $12 an hour 3 years ago are making almost 20 an hour now. Wow. It's really good to see that. And then the other thing that's really exciting is for anybody looking for a job, now is the best time in my lifetime. And you can see from the gray hair, I've been around for a little while. it's the best time ever to find a new job that pays better and maybe has better opportunity for you.
Oh, that's great advice. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. So, no, you've worked a lot, in the recruiting department. You've worked in sales. You've worked in marketing. What are like, the ways that technology influences what are the ways that technology influences all of these departments, and how can technology, advance or make all of these departments better, like recruiting better, like your company does that already, sales or marketing? How can technology influence and improve the processes that are involved in these departments?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's kind of a, why do we do all this stuff with building software?
Yes.
Um, and the reason why it matters so much is really two things: speed and efficiency. Technology lets us do, if you look at efficiency, if I spend $100, it lets me get more work done with that $100.
Yes.
And I've watched in my time in business, it go from a 2-fold increase in productivity to a 1,000-fold increase in productivity. And, if you look at my company, if you ask me if I would have a business doing $1 million a year in business and no salespeople, I would say that's impossible if you'd asked me that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I have. We get most of our business from partnerships, where we have a partner who brings the business to us, and almost all of the setups and all of that are all done electronically. So there's not a lot of human to human work that has to be done to onboard a new client. We still love to talk to new customers and stuff, but it's just different than it used to be.
Yeah.
So efficiency is a big deal. And then speed. And this is why we're doing what we're doing. Really, why our product works for our customers is we help them recruit a lot faster than they could without us. We increase their time to hire, or decrease their time to hire, from something like an average of, I think it's 43 days is the industry average.
Yeah.
We help them get that down to 2 or 3 days.
Mm.
And so by speeding up, that helps them better take advantage of the opportunities that are there, capture better talent maybe, and more importantly, a process that takes 3 days costs a lot less than a process that takes 43 days.
That's true. That's very true. And do you see it like a goal for your company to, also accompanying the old process from recruiting to, from the first contact to the person starting the job in that company? Is that something that you also do, or you're looking into doing also, or you're just involved in the first contact and the discussion?
So right now we start with apply, and then we go kind of apply to hire as the first step, and then hire to hired is the second part. And then once we're hired, we're not doing a lot post hire right now with our software. We probably see that as an opportunity in the future, but the stuff that goes on between apply and hire, there is so much communication and so much work that goes into getting a hire done.
Yes.
That we could work on this for 5 years and still not be all the way finished. There's just so much to do.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah. But what we do know is that if we can help employers handle more conversations with candidates, and back to what you're talking about with efficiency. So by speeding up the communication process and leveraging chat, there's 2 things that happens. One is that 93% of text messages are read by the recipient within 3 minutes of when they get the message. And on average, if somebody responds to your text message, they respond in 4 minutes. So for recruiters who are used to trying to call a candidate and getting voicemail, the whole idea of sending a text message and getting a response 4 minutes later is like a miracle to them. But what it does for the whole process is it means that now we can actually have a conversation that goes very, very fast, right?
Yes.
And the candidate gets the message, they respond, and the recruiters are able to get their job done a lot faster. So, it's back to speed and efficiency are kind of the combo. And, the return on investment on something like that is just staggering. So technology still just creates huge opportunities, huge economic opportunity.
Yeah, that's good. So from your experience working as, director of development and serving on the HR Open Standard Board of Director at the Direct Employers, you talked about that a little bit earlier. What are some attributes or characters that make an employer qualify a job seeker for a job opening? like from that experience of working in the HR department, what do you think a job seeker out there always listening right now should do to ease herself or on ease herself or ease her CV in order to become qualified for the job that he or she is looking for?
Yeah, the most important thing, there are three things that matter for a job seeker. One is accuracy. Make sure that your resume or your LinkedIn profile or whatever it is you're using to apply for the job is accurate. We see about 17% of job applications contain inaccurate data. And the problem with those inaccuracies are every one of those job applies is going to go get scanned by some software, maybe with some artificial intelligence in it, that's going to look at it and go, is this person qualified for the job? And I'll give you an example. We recruit cosmetologists for some big chains of haircut stores. And those cosmetologists, if they say their license is expired or they haven't updated their license renewal date on their resume or on their profile, the AIs are just going to screen them out, and they're not going to ever get a call from a recruiter. So it's very important to make sure you keep your CV, keep your resume up to date, especially if you have licenses and certifications that expire. Make sure that you tell people that it's current. And make sure the expiration dates are accurate so you don't get screened out by a bot. The second thing that I would tell any job seeker about their profile is to make sure that you use the words that describe your experience that are current. So if you are a guy that is a little older and you were the director of MIS, you might want to say that you were the director of information technology, because nobody is going to look for MIS anymore. It's just an old dead title. Make sure you update things so that they're current and you're using the language that the recruiters are using to look for you.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And final thing is respond. If you're a candidate and you get a text message from a recruiter or you get a phone call from the recruiter, take the call. Answer the text message. They want to hire you. Don't ghost them. Don't ghost the recruiter. That's a bad thing. Don't do it.
Oh yeah, that's good. Once you get an opportunity, take hold of it and like just see it through. You're saying, yeah. Oh, great. But what do you think? What do you think recruiting will look like in the future, like in the next 3 to 5 years? What do you think is the future of WorkHere, for example, your company, and also recruiting as a whole?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing that's up for my company is actually we're changing our name to Pivot CX. So first thing is we're going to change our name to Pivot CX, and the CX stands for candidate experience. So the whole idea is change your candidate experience. We think that what's going to happen with recruiting is we're going to get away from it taking 48 days to hire somebody, and it's going to get changed to where everything goes a lot faster. The other thing that's going to happen is there's an awful lot of superstition, a lot of unfounded theories, and a lot of just made up BS that people use when they're interviewing people to screen them out. You know, people will look at a resume and they'll find, you know, a period 3 years ago where somebody was out of work for 8 weeks and tried to divine that there was some great meaning to their being out of work for 8 weeks of their life. Or maybe they held a job for less than a year at some point. And a lot of that inexperienced managers look at that and go, this person's not reliable because they were only there for a year. And then the truth is that that person moved and they had to get a new job because they moved. And so much of the practices that we see in recruiting, especially when you get to the interview phase, don't line up with reality. And a lot of those practices are being swept away right now because, when you're short on people and you've got a multi-million-dollar order that's not going to be built on time because you're down a line in your factory, a lot of times, a lot of the superstitions kind of get revisited and we start realizing, hey, we really should look at the people that are applying for the job and see if we actually can hire them and try, instead of trying to find every little excuse we can to screen them out.
Yeah. Wow.
So I think that's going to change a lot.
Yes. And hopefully there will soon be a software that does the whole, recruiting process and from submitting, from applying to being hired or not hired. Also, hopefully that will happen too.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah, I
think
think another thing that'll happen.
yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, sorry. I'll just say
Just
the only downside to that would be that it could make some people lose their job, like the HR department, for example. It's going to reduce the staff in the HR department. Or what do you think about that?
I don't think that we do. In fact, what we're seeing is that most HR departments are understaffed dramatically. The problem a lot of companies have, they go slow hiring, not because they have too many recruiters. The problem is that they have 4 people, I'll pick on a client that came to us, 13,000 employees and 6 recruiters.
Oh.
And they needed to hire almost 700 people. And there's no way that 6 recruiters can interview enough people in a 6-month period to hire 130 people. The problem that most companies have is that they understaff their recruiting, and they're missing actually having a kind of a talent mismatch problem. It's kind of like sales used to be. If I go back 20 years ago in sales, we would have a sales rep who did everything from finding the prospects to call on. They'd go out and find contacts they could call on, then they would call them and make contact, and then they would present their products and do the solution fitting, and then they would try to close the deal. I mean, they did everything. And the problem with that was they were spending 75% of their time trying to find people to sell to. And so what happened was between Salesforce and Mark Benioff had a great idea, a CRM software thing. Let's push that out there and make it so we can maybe hire business development representatives who are responsible for doing that, finding the people for the salespeople to sell to. And so in most modern selling organizations, you have a BDR that is taking the first pass at inbound and outbound leads. Well, in recruiting, they're still operating like it's like the sales teams did back in the 80s and 70s, where the the recruiters are trying to do everything. In most of the recruiting organizations we go into, what we see is they need to have somebody in there who can be available when the candidates apply, so they can have a conversation with the candidates and can meet the volume of communication that needs to go on. Trying to fill 1,000 jobs with 4 or 5 recruiters is really hard to do. If I put in somebody who can be a candidate advocate or can chat with every candidate, that person can talk to 200 or 300 people a day. Whereas a traditional recruiter using a phone and email, they can only talk to 6 or 7 people a day. So a lot of organizations just aren't set up to be able to go really fast when they recruit. And as a result of that, they're going to struggle hiring until they realize, wait a minute, we gotta change our mentality, and maybe we need to bring in some a new role. We call it a candidate advocate, but it really is kind of a BDR for recruiting. It's somebody that can handle the inbound job applicants, and when they're not doing that, they can go do some sourcing and maybe find candidates they can reach out to. And then when they get a good one, get that person over to a recruiter who can actually, do the recruiting part of it, which is actually more like what the salespeople do with solution fitting. It's job fitting and making sure that everybody's qualified and all of that, and being really, really good at closing the deal. So we think that there's a real change coming in the recruitment world, because most companies are going to have to adopt a new way of kind of organizing their talent acquisition teams so that they can handle a larger volume of candidates and then give a better quality experience to every candidate. I don't know. Does that make sense? Or
yeah, of course it makes sense. Like, I'm looking forward to that change also. I'm looking forward to that speed and that efficiency in the recruiting phase or process also.
Well, Toby, I'll tell you what, I think what's going to happen is the companies that adopt that are going to be the ones that can hire people, and the ones that don't adopt that will either go out of business or be bought by the ones that do. Right now, in manufacturing, at least in the US, what we're seeing is companies that can hire people and man their production lines are making great money. And the ones that can't hire enough people to keep their factories open 24 hours a day are struggling. And it just comes down to how good are you at hiring?
That's true. And that's why you are very important. That's why WorkHere is very important. Yes.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I've got a considerable amount of time and money riding on that.
Yeah. So as a co-founder of WorkHere, I would love to learn from you. What are like the biggest challenges or the biggest mistakes that one could make while founding a startup?
Okay, the biggest mistake is the easiest one, and that is not listening. And when I say that, I mean not listening to the people that could be your customers and not listening to the people that could be your investors. So many times people will tell you exactly what you need to do to make the right product, or they'll tell you exactly what you need to do to get the investment you need to make your business real. And a lot of founders don't hear it. They just don't. I've sat in so many meetings with people where somebody's trying to raise money and pitches this idea of, I need this much money and I'm willing to sell this amount of ownership. And the investor comes back and say, look, I would love to invest in you, but I'm not going to do it on those terms. Here's what I have that I can do.
Yeah.
And instead of listening to that, the founder kind of ends the conversation. He goes, I'm worth more than that. And they're not hearing the truth. They're hearing what they want to hear. Likewise with customers, a lot of us, we don't start companies because we have bad ideas. We all think we have this great idea that's going to help a lot of people. Exactly. And we go out there and make something. We've got a lot of ourselves wrapped up in it. And then we go show it to a customer that might buy it, and they don't buy it. And I see so many founders that blame the potential customer for not buying the product, not blaming their product for not being what the customer wants to buy. Yeah. And if you listen to a customer, they will tell you exactly what you need to do to get that right. And so, listening is just underrated skill. And to be honest with you, with WorkHere, we would have made the change to this business model probably 2 years earlier had we listened to our customers carefully. Instead, we had to have COVID come along and upset the whole world for us to hear it. And then finally, the message came through when we lost 85% of our customers. It was like, okay, I can't really ignore that. Yeah. And so we were kind of forced to listen. But I really do think listening is underrated.
Wow. But I know it's because of the conflict, it's going to be challenging because, you have this conflict between the idea or the picture that you have in your head and what people are telling you. You cannot really, fit it into each other, or you can't really see what they are trying to tell you. And then you need that COVID, for example, to really open your eyes to see what the customers or the market is telling you to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Toby, to be honest with you, entrepreneurs have big egos. Most entrepreneurs have really big egos, and it's really, really hard for them to put that aside and be humble enough to listen, especially when somebody's telling you that your baby is ugly. It's really hard to hear that, and you got to get good at it.
That's true. Yes. So apart from listening, what are like some other lessons that one should know or have before starting a company or successfully founding a startup? Are there like some other things?
If you're not good at something, get a co-founder. If you're not good at part of the business, don't think that you're going to learn how to do it. Find somebody that can, and find a way to bring them into the business in a way that they can help you build that. Yeah. When I started this company, I can build software, no problem. My partner could build software, no problem. We knew how to sell it. We knew how to market it. We were terrible at raising money. And we needed another co-founder. And so we found a guy, Howard Bates, who came in and really helped us raise money. In fact, we were really successful at that early on, raised about $4.5 million to get this thing started. And really looking forward to see what happens here over the next year, because with the amount of traction we have, we think we're going to raise a pretty good size round sometime, maybe early next year. So don't know how that's going to go for sure, but with us going from $5,000 in revenue up to about $100,000 a month in revenue already this year, and with the amount of growth we'll have by the end of the year, we'll probably be able to raise quite a bit. But I did not have the knowledge to raise that money, and my partner didn't, and it would have taken us 4 or 5 years to learn how to do it. By adding somebody to our team, it gave us that advantage right away. And sometimes you have to give up a lot to get that kind of the right knowledge on your team. And for a founder, back to that big entrepreneur you got to be able to put it aside and look at reality and go, you know what, this is a real problem. We don't know how to make the software. We're going to have to get a technical co-founder. And that guy's probably going to take a big chunk of the equity out of this thing. but 60% of a growing pie is a lot better than 100% of nothing.
Very true. Yes, yes, that's very, very true. So one has to like put down that ego and be humble enough to accept people to help you in the growth of your company or your business. Yeah.
Oh, so underrated. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Wow. That's awesome. So I'm praying that that this exponential growth will just continue, and by this time next year, for example, you'll be having 1 million revenue or more or something like that. $1 million
Wow.
revenue.
I hope so. I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully, really my prayer for the world is that we don't have anything like COVID happen, that we can have a period of a couple years, a decade or two of relative peace would be nice. I think the world's in a really neat place. I think that coming out of COVID, I think the world can grow together and maybe not have the kind of conflict and problems we've had, and that'll be a wonderful time for business and economic opportunity to expand.
Yes. Yes. So for someone out there who wants to connect with you or work with you, like maybe get to know more about work here or wants to get some tips or advice as an entrepreneur, what's the best way to connect and work with you for that?
The best thing to do, first off, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Mike Seidle. It's kind of spelled uniquely with Seidle, but yeah, connect on LinkedIn. Go to our website, workhere.com is the old website. Pivotcx.io is the new site. So we're actively in the middle of that rebrand. Absolutely would love to talk with anybody about recruiting challenges. And, if you're a founder and you're looking at getting into, starting a startup or whatever, don't mind answering questions. Doesn't bother me at all.
Awesome. So if, as a closing remark, if there's like a piece of advice that you would love to give out to anyone, like to your younger self or to any listener out there that we've not talked about so far in this episode, what would that piece of advice be?
Go for it. Whatever your idea is, go do it. Don't listen to the naysayers. Go try to do it. There's a real shortage in the world of people that will actually take action. So many people love to talk about how they can't do things. And I can't start a company because my parents aren't rich, or I can't start a company because I don't have certain knowledge that I would need to have to do it. All those problems can be overcome. If you don't know something, you can find a partner who does. If you're not rich, a little bit of hustle, you can find the money and the opportunity. The thing that is missing from most businesses is initiative. It's the very spark at the beginning where you actually decide, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to put everything into it. People really, that part right there is the hard part. If you can find that, you can do things. And yeah, your business might not succeed. My God, this is the 5th company I've started. I think 2 of the businesses I've done would qualify as abject failures. One of them broke even, and then I had one successful exit, and then I think this one's on the way to a successful conclusion. But you got to keep trying. But the hardest part is the start. You have to have that. If you don't have the will to do it, it'll never happen.
It's true. You just have to try it. Just do it. Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah. That's easy to say, but it's so easy to find excuses not to, and so easy to, I could do that if I had this or I had that. And the reality is, you have everything you need. Get started. Go get started.
Wow, I really love that. Thank you so much, Mike, for everything I've been able to learn from this episode. And I wish WorkHere, that exponential growth that we talked about, like this time next year, by the time we're talking again, it's going to be in millions of dollars revenue. And yeah, I just wish you all the success. Thank you so much for this wonderful episode and everything you taught me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Toby. It was really great being here. Appreciate it.